We are familiar with research mainly on vitamin B6 and B12. However, we know it's the whole range of vitamin B supplements. Could you go roughly one by one explaining what is the use of different vitamin Bs and the benefits, and what are the symptoms if people are deficient?
Sure. Well, if it's okay, I might talk about them a little bit more like a group, because they actually work well in a discussion like that. So there are multiple types of B vitamins. So we've got vitamin B1, which is thiamine. We've got vitamin B2, which is riboflavin. We've got vitamin B3, which is niacin. And we've got vitamin B5, which is pantothenic acid. Vitamin B6, which is niacin, and then one which a lot of your listeners will have heard of is folic acid or folate, and that's actually vitamin B9. And then we also have vitamin B12. So most of those vitamins are found in the same types of foods. The exemption being vitamin B12. So all of the B vitamins really are found in things like whole grains, green vegetables. So you think of whole grains like brown rice, oats, wholemeal pasta, barley, things like that. And green vegetables, obviously we're talking broccolis and spinach, kale, things like that. So it turns out that most people actually get enough of these vitamins in the diet, and they're what we call water soluble. So if you consume a really large amount of B vitamins, you just end up excreting them in the urine. So they end up going down the toilet, which isn't very beneficial, but at least it's not really harmful. What's really crucial is to make sure that you're eating those whole grains and those green vegetables to get enough of those B vitamins. When it comes to vitamin B12, as I mentioned, it's a little bit different. It's really only found naturally in animal source foods like red meats, like eggs, like fish, and also in dairy products. But what's really interesting about, and also I should mention, there are numerous sort of plant-based sources of vitamin B12 now, but it's fortified B12. So things like fortified soy milk, fortified breakfast cereals, and so on. We only need a microscopic amount of vitamin B12. Now, it's very easy to measure vitamin B12 levels with a blood test. It's not so easy for the other B vitamins. But the problem is a huge amount of people all over the world have low vitamin B12 levels. And some of that is because they don't eat enough B12. So they don't eat enough of those foods. But some of it is because they don't absorb it well. And vitamin B12 absorption is actually quite complicated. And that's why a huge amount of people do not have enough vitamin B12 in their blood. So we know that certain medications can also affect that because it's the acid in the stomach. So anybody who's on medications to lower acid levels can end up with low levels of vitamin B12. And also recent research has shown that a medication often used for diabetes called metformin actually is linked to lower levels of vitamin B12 as well. Now, it's very possible to increase your vitamin B12 levels with diet and then with supplements, high dose supplements. And then the third thing that will happen if there's really no absorption of vitamin B12 is an injection, because we don't need to absorb it then, it just goes straight into the body. But vitamin B12 is known to be really important for energy production and heavily linked to fatigue in all circumstances, and potentially with COVID as well. There's only one study that I'm aware of which has looked at vitamin B12 supplements in COVID patients, and that was done in Singapore. And they actually combined it with vitamin D and also magnesium, and they actually showed a significant benefit of that combination. It's hard to say, was it the vitamin D or the B12 or the magnesium or the combination, but either way, you know, vitamin B12 levels, if anybody is concerned, I would recommend to get the blood level checked, and then they start eating those foods, taking a supplement, and recheck the levels again.
And what are the benefits of nutritional yeast that goes beyond vitamin B?
Yeah, so nutritional yeast is a really sort of a concentrated yeast foodstuff, which is a really useful source of fiber, of proteins, of B vitamins, all the B vitamins really, except for B12, but some of them actually add in B12, and multiple additional vitamins and minerals. Nutritional yeast has been linked to some benefits, for example, lowering cholesterol and even lowering blood sugars and more. There's rare instances of some people who have a yeast allergy, and it can actually exacerbate that. But for most people, nutritional yeast is a really nice addition to the diet. It can be added in like a spoonful at a time into things like soups and sauces and even salads. And it can be a really useful way to bump up fiber, protein, and these crucial micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. So really good addition. It has a little bit of a cheesy flavor, and some people even add it to popcorn and things like that to get that cheesiness. And obviously it doesn't contain any cheese. It's completely plant-based. So very interesting food.
Right. So thank you very much. That was all on vitamin B.